You always have to remember why people watch TV. Because they're bored, right? Seriously.
Right.
That's what TV's all about.
So here's a question. What would you produce?
I mean, I'll just lay it out there. I mean, I think live content is going to be the future of television. My honest opinion is if you can bring an audience of 50,000 people on a repetitive basis, you'll get picked up by television like that.
And our special guest is someone who was here a few years ago, a man who not only owns the Dallas Mavericks, but really is a futurist when it comes to entertainment. Now I'd like to introduce you to Don Chmielewski and our guest, Mark Cuban.
Well, I wanted to start our conversation with a discussion of Walt Disney Studios' John Carter, which is in the news again, because Disney has decided to, has refused to sell DVDs to either Netflix or Redbox until 28 days after the DVDs have been released into stores. And I was hoping that you could handicap this sort of a strategy of trying to impose a release window.
I think it's smart, right? Because they got killed on the movie, and to me, it's obvious that the DVD is selling better than they expected it to. Mm-hmm. And if they're getting more money that way, why would they say, this is working, but that's okay. I'm going to give it to Redbox and the rentals and just let it cost me some money. Mm-hmm. So if it points to anything, it points to the fact that studios will probably try to be more flexible and react. And it could go the other way, too. You know, when they do the projections for DVD sales for a movie and it sucks, Redbox, come on, commit to a few more units and, I'll get it to you sooner.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if the decision by Dish Network to introduce a feature that it touted as a really consumer-friendly feature called AutoHop, which which automatically skips over commercials. And I'm wondering, what the consequences of this technology are for Hollywood, or conversely, why does Hollywood keep fighting technology? I'm not sure quite how the correct way to phrase that.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're getting at. There's Dish Network and other distributors are looking to create incremental value for their customers, right, and create a better experience, and technology enables that.
Right.
I mean, people forget that satellite, DirecTV and Dish and network.
That was piracy.
Well, my point was going to be that they're all digital, right? So they can do everything that the internet can do. It's just a question of business practices and business decisions.
Right.
And so I think Dish is trying to get ahead of the curve in terms of user experience. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm CBS, et cetera, and I make a lot of my money off of advertising,
right,
I'm probably upset too, but there's nothing that says there can't be a compromise that said, okay, I might be losing X number of dollars through your subscribers and advertising,
mm-hmm.
Compensate me for X amount, and you can get rid of all the commercials, period.
Right.
Because if I'm CBS, and I don't want to speak for Les, he's a super smart guy, but if Dish reduces my risk by saying, okay, I'll pay you a premium to let me show these shows without commercials, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious about what other impediments stand in the way of this being a more integrated experience, and whether you see any sort of longer-term opportunities for content creators once you have the internet sort of seamlessly delivered to the television set and connected to another device in the living room.
Look, the key delta in whether or not smart TVs become a content environment is always on.
Right.
The fact that you have to hit the internet button, go over to wait for the other screens to load, right? And then pick your choice of all the different applications.
Right
there, it's too much work.
Right.
You always have to remember why people watch TV. Because they're bored. Right? The best definition ever for television came from Aaron Spelling. What's the definition of television? The best alternative to boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
Right.
That's what TV's all about. And if you have to switch and move around, and you have to, you're not going to do it. Right? If you have to hit the internet button, if you have to work to get your television,
mm-hmm.
you might have great content, but no one cares that much. And that's what I think people really don't realize. If people have to work to find your content, you've got challenges.
Right. How do you what makes a video stand out from the crowd, and how does anyone who's trying to create content manage to differentiate what they do and be seen or heard online?
You got to cheat on a marketing basis. I mean, seriously, I'll go back to AudioNet days. When we first started, I spent half my day emailing, or going to every website I could find and telling them, check out this site and here's why. And I think a lot of content producers, they don't want to put in that that blocking and tackling effort, because a lot of times you don't want to be imposing, and all it takes is just one person sending it to the one person who's going to send it to all their friends, and everything takes off. Bullshit, right? It comes down to effort. It really, really does. And the thing about the content business today that's so much better than it was 10, 12 years ago is you can really grind out content today a lot less expensively, right? And so you can fail a whole bunch of times.
Right.
The beauty of the content business today is there's unlimited failure. And that's not a bad thing, because it doesn't matter how many times you fail. You just got to be right one time. So it's okay to make mistakes and learn from them and build your network and build links and build cross links and look for ways to generate traffic, because that's part of the job.
I wanted to talk a little bit about numbers and what they mean. But you were talking about how, numbers can be misinterpreted. So take me through the math. It seems, in the electronic world, if I can count to 800 million, isn't that an accurate number?
I mean,
Nielsen doesn't.
Yeah. Well, first thing, I mean, when people compare video views to television ratings, it's apples and oranges, right?
Well, why is that? Because I'm watching.
Well, how long are you watching, right? Because like on Shark Tank, we'll get, this past Friday on reruns, in a rerun we got 4.27 million viewers, right? That's not views, right? That's the average number of people watching for the entire hour. I mean, again, people just, hey, we got 1 million views. No, we got 6 million views. That's more than Shark Tank got. Yeah, it took you 3 months, right? And it was you and your family watching that same thing 16 times, right? It's just not the same thing. We all like to lie to ourselves. You know that you watched your video 100 times, right? But you're telling your friends, we got 1 million views over 19 months, whatever, and if I reached 1 million views, then somebody should recognize me, so I should be able to sell my ads on here and make a whole lot more money.
Right.
When in reality, you've got to look what you're being compared to, and I think if I were getting into online content business, I would put together a marketing plan that tried to drive my viewership at one given point in time. So my premiere hour, and no one uses this as a metric, but my premiere hour got me 62,000 people.
Right.
62,000 people watching your 5-minute or 10-minute or 3-minute video within the first hour is a whole lot better than 1 million views over a month. And until we get to that kind of metric,
right?
I don't think online's ever going to compare to TV.
Let's leave platforms and talk about mobile. As we start to shift screens, what are the opportunities and what's the potential impact for the entertainment industry?
I think it's more beneficial in terms of alerts and notifications right now than anything else. Hey, don't forget, do this type thing. Because we all need our memory jogged, and we all are looking for ways to be part of a social scene.
What about the use among the millennial generation? I mean, your 2-year-old isn't quite at that place, but my college sophomore certainly is. And when he's in the living room watching TV, he's got another screen going at all times.
I don't see it as being, look, again, people want to talk about millennials are going to be different. They're going to change everything. We all sit with our phones. I mean, it's not just 22-year-olds, right? What happens with millennials, back in my day, you had a black and white TV in your bedroom and you sat in there the whole time, right? Just because it kept you away from your parents, right? You had control of your TV. Right. That's why kids sit in their bedrooms with YouTube and Netflix and whatever, and why Netflix utilization among millennials in their bedrooms is enormous, because you get control of the remote, basically, right? I think people make a huge mistake when they watch what their kids do and say, well, if my kids are doing it, this is the future. It's not about the technology, because whatever technology is available to our kids, whenever they're kids, right, or as they get older, that's what they're going to use. They're going to use the latest and greatest. It's more about why they're doing it that way that I pay attention to, and I think the why is privacy, being able to get social without your parents knowing.
How do you see producers making enough money to recover their costs, sort of with, in the world of digital distribution?
You got to pre-sell, just like I talked about with our production. You've got to go out there and try to control your own destiny. So the best advice I can give you is, do you have your destiny controlled? It's like with Magnolia, why did we go to release a month before it's in theaters, contrary to everybody else? Because in traditional distribution of movies, you got to spend all this P&A money, and then you just pray. You pray people show up. When we put it into the distribution we did on pay-per-view and VOD, our P&A for movies could go down as low as $50,000 or $100,000. And so we knew we were going to make money. We controlled our own destiny. If you can, shoot your trailer, whatever, and then get people to buy into helping you market it and supporting it, that's how you make money.
Now, with all the possible online distribution platforms for original programming, where would you go if you were not someone who could finance your own creative output?
I would chase people writing checks.
So when Mark gets up?
Yeah, trust me, I ain't writing no checks for content. So it's not online. I mean, that's just the reality. If you're hoping you go viral, that's a long shot. Look, I said it before, and I'll say it again. You don't have to be right a lot. You just got to be right that first time. And grinding it out and talking to, where you get the opportunity to reach out with people who do funding, you just got to find your way there.
So here's a question. What would you produce if you were an indie producer today? What's interesting to you? I mean,
I'll just lay it out there. I mean, there's a reason why we're transitioning from HDNet to Access TV. And that's because I think live content is going to be the future of television. If you want to talk millennials and things that they do, kids are event-driven. They're going to EDC, right? Electric Daisy Car. They're going to wherever. They're going to groups, right? And they're using social media to link up to go to these groups. And for those who can't be there, we want to be the people that put it on TV. There's sites out there that allow you to go live. And if you can create unique live events that bring people in and make them want to be part of it, my honest opinion is if you can bring an audience of 50,000 people to one spot online on a repetitive basis, you'll get picked up by television like that. Because that's differentiated, that's unique, that leverages where millennials want to go. They want to be part of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people talk about how we use our phones and stuff at home where we're together alone, right? So you might have the family together and your kids are all there. But there's still that social need to be part of something, and I think the response to that is, hey, we're all going to go to see this DJ, or we're all going to go see this band. That's what I think all the technology is leaning towards. And so in terms of unique opportunities, live.
How you keep abreast of sort of this changing landscape? What are some tips for staying informed?
But I spend a lot of time just learning. I read everything, anything. I get a ton of news alerts. I do Twitter searches. I do, you name it. I've got websites that I just have to go to, and if I haven't checked all these out and read up before I go to bed, then I can't sleep.
Okay. What is, just in closing, what do you think the most intriguing thing on the horizon is as it relates to entertainment and how it's delivered to consumers? What's really caught your attention of late?
I never look at things as being this big Shazam, wow, this is like everything is building around this. It's always just incremental. And that's why it catches up on people and sneaks up to them and surprises them, because it happens so slowly and incrementally as opposed to a big bang, big release, like a big movie release. And so I try not to think about, oh, is there something big, because you're just waiting. I try to pay attention. What are all the things and how can I connect the dots? And I always try to look where people aren't looking. Again, I said it before. Everybody, internet video for the past 17 years or probably for the next 10 years. I look at what's happening from the telcos, the cable companies, and the satellite companies because no one else is looking there. They're doing all these unique technology things because they can, and they got the money to do it, and that'll create unique opportunities. You're starting to see them come out with new programming guides, and I'm not saying they're there yet, but incrementally, they're making the changes that I think will have more impact than what YouTube does. At the end of the day, YouTube's big benefit is they subsidize the bandwidth of the world. I mean, if all of a sudden they said, you have to start paying to host everything, YouTube ain't YouTube. And they're smart, and they build an infrastructure to be able to do it. So look for the incremental changes, not for the big ball of light that's going to come down and explode on you from some technological change.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you. This was fun.
It was a pleasure.
Definitely a lot of fun.
Thank you.